Ahoy, LEGO and D&D nerds! I be Ian, and welcome to part 2 of our Mega Kraken Week special episode of Brick Bestiary. In part 1, we built this carnivorous ship straight out of the depths of Tome of Beast 2. It transforms from an ordinary ship into this fanged monstrosity, just waiting to eat your ship and send your crew down to Davy Jones' locker. Alright, that's enough of the pirate voice for one episode. Last part, we built the Carnivorous Ship. If you missed that episode, it will be linked up in the cards. Today, we will be focusing on this gorgeous battle map that I have behind me. It is the shoreline of a little coastal port town. I've gone for kind of an island vibe, some bright colors. We've got a fantasy lighthouse. It's populated with minis. I'm really happy with how this build came out, and I can't wait to show off how I did it. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into that. So we're gonna begin with this molded Lego island base plate. This is from a really old set that I had. It was some kind of like Coast Guard station, but I just absolutely love this molded island piece. I've used it for many things over the years, and it's just one of my favorite base plates. You can see that I've used it for a battle map before because it has some lines on it, but we're gonna go ahead and start with this. The main thing that we need to do is fill in a couple of holes that it has. So for this hole on this side, I'm just gonna take two gray 4x8 tiles. I'm going to take one 6x8 and connect them like this so that they're overlapping, and then I'm going to put a tan in to fill that gap. This is just going to fit right down into here, but first we need to add some tan on top to bring it up one more level. These pieces obviously were lined also, and now this will fill in that gap. This is like a little cove, but this is a solid surface. This hole here can just be covered by a 6x6 plate, but since this is a hole and this is sort of a pirate themed map, I'm gonna go ahead and add some treasure to it. I've just got some various gemstones, some gold studs to be gold, this golden fish, a ring, and a golden pirate sword. I'm just gonna dump all of that in the hole and cover it up. I don't even know if the players will find it, but it's fun if it's there. It was buried treasure in the port the whole time. This is only going to be half of our port. For the other half, I'm going to bring this in. Now this is just a blue base plate that obviously I've started doing some rock work on. You can see here I've taken some rounded tan sand colored pieces and kind of built a coastline with some angled ones here. I'm just kind of going for organic shapes, and I wanted this side to line up with the edge of this so that I could take one of these inverted slopes and use it to bridge this kind of gap. I'm not really worried about it at the back. The back of this model isn't going to look fantastic, but that's going to be facing my DM screen, so I'm not as fussed about it. The back wall here I just built up with gray bricks and plates as necessary to keep the same level. So let's go ahead and attach these together. We're going to take some tiles like this to build that up to the same level. I'm going to take another one of these sandy pieces and attach it here, and then we'll go ahead and put a tile on top connecting those together. I'm going to use this angled piece at the back here to fill in that gap, and then I'll push a plate down over top of it. Now I want to just fill this in, not trying to do anything fancy here, just filling in some space. Just various layers of tiles of sand and rock color to kind of fill the space in here. I'm going to take this piece that I've assembled as the front of my shore here. You can see more sandy curves, some gray rock pieces. This is actually part of a building mounting point, which you'll see a little later, but I need to keep track of where exactly it goes. I got some pieces underneath to lock it in, and we're just going to evenly and carefully apply pressure until it is locked in place. Like that. I'm going to put another piece of rock on this side here to kind of bring that up, and then at the back we just have two long gray pieces connected together, some underlayment, and then these are the rest of the attachment points for that building. So this is just going to slot in here, and now I'll push this down along the back, and that is going to be our base that we build the rest of our island on. So I'm going to push this to the back and go over how I made some of the buildings for this. Now, I'm not going to go brick by brick on all of these buildings because this is a pretty big model and I want to save some time here. Basically, I'm just going to show you kind of how I constructed each one. They're very simple. They're all just kind of boxes, and when I do some intricate things, that's where I'm going to go into detail. So this is sort of a lighthouse that goes on the end. As you can see, this is just a rectangle of bricks. I left the back open, and I've interspersed white
with this brick red color with a few masonry textured white pieces. I have windows on the sides here that are just a tall window in an arch frame to kind of make it look like a two-part window. And at the edges, I put some of these slope pieces just to add some dimension. We have one of these medieval doors that just attaches to a clip piece on the back. And these snot studs above the door are for these quarter round bricks that make sort of an archway as you enter. And on the top here, I've simply taken a whole bunch of jumper tiles and run them along where I can put these little pedestal pieces that I got from Pick a Brick Wall. At the corners, I added these little scroll work things to fill in the space and then also add a little extra detail. The top is pretty much the same. Now you'll notice the white on this building, a lot of it is aged. If you're familiar with keeping a Lego collection for a long time, you'll know that white Legos left in any amount of sunlight do not stay white. So obviously there's a lot of different aged white pieces here that have yellowed different amounts over time. And I really leaned into that for this build because I thought it added more dimension. It's an extra color in here, but it's just off-white and the uneven pattern makes it look cool and weathered. So I found a way to use kind of those off-color pieces to add to the design. You'll notice at the top here, we have a ledge that is just constructed of plates, and that is the ledge that this piece will slot into when we attach it. But before we do that, I want to build the roof for this. To build the light for the lighthouse, it's going to be a signal fire, and I'm going to take one of these wheels that has 6 pinholes in it and the central axle. And I'm going to fill each one of the holes with one of these Technic pins with a stud on it. Now, I guess they don't really have to be red. It is a fire, so it's kind of nice that I was able to find 6 of these in red. I honestly don't know where I got them. I didn't know that I had this many in red. I thought most of them that I had were blue or gray, but I will take the red because it just adds to the fire effect. So I'm going to put one of those in each hole, and then in the center I'm going to take one of these missile bodies and push the bar into the axle joint. Then I'm going to take one of these Lego flames and put it in each open stud. So that'll be 7 total, 6 around the outside and 1 in the center, which will make a nice big signal fire that ships can see from out at sea. Then I'm going to take this basket piece and a Lego cylinder and push the rest of the bar down into that, and that's the basket right there. I will put this directly in the center of this top piece, just like that. And now we're going to take these lamppost pieces and these little clear offset studs that come with a lot of the CMF figures now. We're going to put one in the top like that, and we're going to go 4 corners. This will hold up our roof. We want these stud things facing outward. For the roof, we're going to be using these sloped roof pieces. We're going to take a 2x4 plate and fill in this gap here on both of these, and they're going to sit at an angle like this, so we need to make a hinge for them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4 of these white clips that has the full ring clip and a white bar, and I'm going to insert the bar into the clip, starting with this direction. If this is the bottom, it's pointing this way. Then I'm going to slide the next one on with the stud facing the other direction. And then I'll flip. And then I'll flip once more like that. And then if I rotate these out like that, this will form a hinge that connects these 2 plates together. I'm going to go ahead and make a second one that is the same, and then I can attach the other plate to those studs. Now on the side that's going to be the front, kind of arbitrary, I'm going to cover this with one of these little quarter round studs, and I'm going to put a 1x2 plate here and a 1x3 plate here so that that is the same distance down. Then we're going to take our roof and we're going to attach it. These studs here are the ones that the clear studs will lock into. So we're going to put that on and then make the other side match, and there is our roof. We can then go ahead and stack this on top, pressing down at the seam here, and add it to our build plate, a corner here, and a corner here on those jumper tiles respectively. So it's at an angle, but locked in place right there. Our next building is just kind of filler between the lighthouse and the next one. It's just gonna be this kind of thin sand colored tower. So I'm going to take these molded tower pieces in tan. I think these were from an old Hogwarts set. I'm just going to connect all 4 of them together like that. And then for the top, I'm going to take this piece. I'm going to use these hinges actually, and put one like this so that it rounds out the edge, but it kind of has a nice rounded corner there. You can see the cylinder. I think it looks interesting. And we'll put one here also, and a 1x1 here, and in the corners. These are just stacks of 1x1s that are too high to kind of make this turreted design. That's just going to go on the top like that. Now I'm going to add to the bottom of this a 1x2 right here, and this 4x4 like that. And the purpose of this will make sense later, but this little shelf at the back is actually going to be very useful. Now we're going to connect this tower right here next to the lighthouse, and I want the back of the tower lined up with the back of the build. The little shelf that I made is going to overhang by 2, and this tower is perfect because of the octagonal shape. It can get right up next to the lighthouse while it's at an angle and fill in that gap. So I'm just going to put it as close as I physically can to the lighthouse, and I'm going to leave this little shelf off the back. I promise I will explain the purpose of the shelf a little bit later. This next building is very simple. It is just a rectangle made with this light blue and these masonry textured gray blocks at the corners. Basically, all I did was zigzag these blocks at the corner, and that made a nice offset that I followed with the blue bricks here. It's got one of these medieval doors. This side is just 1x1s, and this side is the clips for the door. Even in the back corner, I just used these bricks and let them overhang, because like I said, I'm not super worried about the back of this model. And then I used a few on the top to make this crenellation, and I have a tower that is built exactly the same. It just has some windows and arches in it as well. I'm going to attach the little tower on the side here, offset by that much. For a tower roof, we're going to take one of these castle crenellation pieces, put it on top here. There is a gap, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. I'm going to need a plate to bring that up. I'm going to put one of these corners on here like that, and like the corner will lock it in nicely. Another 1x1 to build up the side. Now it reaches the full way back. Next, I'm going to take these slope pieces. These are 2 tall 2x2 slopes, and I'm going to place them on the corners like this. Each one has a plate on the top to make them a smidge taller. This one is a 2x2. It doesn't really matter because it's going to be hidden inside of the top of the tower. I have another one here with a tile on top that I'm going to put stud to the center stud hole so I can angle it. Same thing on this side, and again, the 2x2 doesn't matter because it's going to be inside. I'm going to take a plate and put it along the back, and one of these half octagons and put it there. Then I'm just going to take this long triangular brick and put it on top like that, and that's going to be my roof. We're also going to take a handful of these cylinders, black, and put them at the back here to form a little pile of cannonballs for our cannon. This is just one of the classic pirate cannons that has the launching mechanism. If you put one of these cylinders in it, it'll shoot it out. I've got it in a brown base, and I just put one of these little spinny wheels on it. I'm going to put it right in the middle of this space so that it can be aimed, and then I will put this whole building right next to the small tower and just gently press it into place. This next building isn't even really a building, it's more of just a facade. This back wall is just a wall, and there's no door to get in. I'm imagining this is probably the back of a building that you can access from the street behind this one. All that's really going on here is I've taken these brown arch pieces and I've used them to kind of make this medieval looking overhang. I used these castle gray masonry stencil blocks to space them out. The middle has a window in an arch, and then I've just used this brick red color and these tall 1x1 pieces to make the rest of this. This arch is not in the doorway in any way, it's just kind of in front of it because that was easier. And these windows, as you can see, are not in an arch frame. Their top stud is in the center peg of a 1x2 that is also brown. The sides are just built up with the same brick red bricks. I don't have 1x1s in this, so when I needed a 1, I just angled it inward. Nobody's gonna see the back side here. This is just some plates to form a floor. I locked them in from the bottom, and the roof is just stair-stepping down brown plates. That's all it is. We're gonna go ahead and lock all of these in on the bottom with one long plate. It's going to overhang the back of the model by one stud, but I'm not worried about that. I would rather it be sticking out the back than out the front, and I couldn't find this in a 1x. So we're going to add a little railing and a balcony here to this doorway. And I kind of like this idea. I don't know if this is anything at all, but this is like kind of loose, right? So I'm imagining that this is an interactable feature. If somehow a party member gets up to this balcony, it's actually kind of like a trap or difficult terrain. They'll have to make some kind of dexterity check. If somebody fires at them, this balcony can break away and drop them down below. I just kind of like that little interactive feature of the map. Now we're gonna be placing this right next to this blue building, which is situated right where the plates walk down here. So if I put it right here, it doesn't balance. I'm going to build up one more brick starting at this side, and I'm just going to go 6 bricks this way, which is the distance that I need, and then I'm going to take one tile this direction. I just need a single stud space that's a tile, and then when I put this on, that gap is mostly filled, and we have this nice facade here. Next, we're going to bridge this little gap with an actual tiny stone bridge. I'm going to be using these wheel well pieces for it. So I'm going to start by taking 1x1s and placing them in the top gaps here, like that. I'll need 2 of these. And then I'm going to take 2x6s, place them at the corners like this. I'm going to place 1x6s in this gap here to step up, and then 4x6 as the top of the bridge. And that gives us a little stone bridge with a nice arch on it that I will place right at the back of the model here to bridge over this little gap. Now that brings us to this funky stairs part, which is kind of hard to see from this angle on the plate, but there's like stairs that come up, and so we got this weird off-level thing. I'm gonna try to build around it. What I'm gonna do is take some more medium nougat here. I have stacks of 4. I'm leaning into brick texture this time because these are buildings on ship, and some more arches. I'm doing a double arch here, and I'm just going to place this one stud away from the bridge, spanning the opening to these stairs. Now, this rock work here is very awkward to work around, but would you believe that one of these arches kind of follows the contour of that rock almost exactly? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the arch, I'm going to add a brick, this one's got a bar on it, and then I'm just going to build up on the side here 2 more alternating. You can see what I've got here. I've got brick. I had to stack up some 1x1s again to be bricks. Here I have a plate level offset, so I've just stacked the 1x1s there. And then across the top here, I have this gray 1x8, and I have bricks. Those are going to go on the back of the arch, the second arch back, and this is going to dangle off the front and perfectly contour that rock, at least as perfectly as I think it would be possible to do with bricks. I'm so happy with how that worked out. Now on this side, we're going to take another arch. I've built up a layer on top of bricks and then a second layer that is staggered. This is going to come to a pointed roof, so the stagger is the first part of that. And then I have a corner here. This one I have built up the 1x1 plates to be a 1x1 brick because it's in the doorway, but on this side I just use these offset bricks because these won't be seen. So I'm going to place this archway down over top of these stairs so that it connects here and then it connects on the side. I have a stack of 5 bricks that I'm going to stack up right here. And I'm going to take another one of these arches and I'm going to put it facing this direction. This is actually important. The arch that's sticking back into the building is going to be supporting the roof. Then I'm just going to continue staggering the roof up, and then it's going to come back down 2 studs on this side. Now we're going to build a shaker roof for that building that we just constructed. And to do that, we're going to use a really interesting technique that I figured out. We're going to need 4 1x8 bricks, doesn't really matter what color, and a whole bunch of chairs. Now what we're going to do is attach the chairs to to the brick so they overhang at the back. We're just going to keep going. And then now that we have 4 of these and 4 chairs left over, we're going to assemble them. So we're going to interlock the pieces like this. And when we do that, the backs of the chairs are going to form this kind of shaker shingle pattern, which is really cool and gives it an interesting texture. And then we'll just place 1 more row of chairs on the top. So that's 20 chairs total for this size roof. And that is going to be our roof. Now it's going to sit at an angle like this. It's going to balance up against that arch piece that we put, but we need to come down on this side a little bit. So to do that, we're going to take this brick that has snot studs all around. We're going to put 1 there. We're going to put 1 here, and then we're going to take a 1x8 tile, place it on this side, and on this side, that's going to form the peak of our roof. And then over here, we're just going to take a stack of 1x8 pieces. We have brick, plate, tile, and attach that right here. When I set it on top like that, now this side slopes down, and this side comes to an edge right at the edge of the wall. It gives us a very interesting roof texture, and it's not that secure. You can knock this off, but this is really just kind of a backdrop, so I'm not too worried about it. It's just going to sit nicely there and look pretty. To finish off this building, we're going to add this awning piece. This is an official Lego fabric piece, I think from a Prince of Persia set, and I think it'll look kind of cool hanging over this doorway. I'm going to take one of these studs that has a bar clip on it, a lightsaber handle, and a 3-stud long bar, and connect them like this. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to connect one of these loops through the stud like that. So the bar is pinning that in place. And then on this end, I'm just going to take a dark red stud with a hole through it and just let that poke through so this is locked in place. Then I'm going to place this on the peak here, and I'm going to place this one up from the bottom, and the awning will fall across it just like that. For our last building on the corner, we're going to be using these, which are the masonry texture, but they're in a 1x4, and they're sand color. I got a bunch of these, also from a wall. Pick a Brick Wall has been very helpful in this model. I'm also going to be using these castle corner pieces. These are from Hogwarts, you can tell because they have Hogwarts portraits on the inside. So I'm going to stack them, which means I need 1x1s in the corners of 1, like that. And then I'm going to stack them next to these. So I'll take 1 and overlap it like that, and then I'll do the same on this side, except I'm going to just use a simple 1x2 to connect them, because I want to add this ladder which is connected to this bar brick. So I'm going to attach that like that. For the 2 corners, instead of just 1x1s, I'm going to use these 1x1s with this sort of decorative arch on them, just to add a little more visual interest. And then this side is also going to need a wall, so I've just built up again. This time I've filled in some extra space because it needs to be 6 wide, just with these 5 tall tan wall elements. This brick here is a 2x2 because it's going to be part of the support for the floor, but this is just going to be attached right there. First, we're going to take one of these sand round pieces that I have a whole bunch of, and we're going to put it on the corner like that. It's going to not come all the way over on either side, but that's okay. We're going to connect it to the corner brick of this. That's part of the connection point, and then we're going to connect this side with a 1x6, and over here we have a 2x8, which is going to overhang slightly both directions, but that will be just fine. Next, we're going to add a railing, so I'm going to take a standard brown railing piece here, and then this one, I put studs on the bottom. I'm going to put the stud next to that and then swing it over so it rounds the corner. This building, I'm going to slot into place right on the end here. I'm going to leave it sticking out a bit from this one. I'm going to have the 1x4, basically 2 studs overlapping in front of and behind this building here. So I'm going to lock that down, and that's going to help lock down this piece on the end that was loose. Now, you might notice that this ladder is hanging in the air. So I'm going to take these brown scaffolding pieces and a 4x6 and make a little platform that I will connect over this space here. And then I'm going to take another ladder and 2 brown clips I'm going to place it here on this end and angle it down until the ladder touches the ground. Now we need to add some docks to this coastline because this is supposed to be a port and it can't really be a port if it doesn't have docks. This is the dock shape that I have made. It's just a bunch of brown plates. I've used some curved pieces because I'm going around the rock work that I've made here, and you'll see how this fits in a second. I just want to show you the profile of all the pieces. This piece actually we'll remove for now because this is a stair, and on the bottom I've double stacked these 2x2 cylinders on all the corners. This one is not quite on the corner because it would have interfered with the tile, and at this corner, I went with these single stud cylinders because the other ones looked too big since this is a narrow dock. I've also put those same cylinders at all the points around this edge as like mooring posts. So I'm going to place this dock in position here. This post is going to be on 2 of those studs, and then the rest of the legs will connect to studs on this base plate. And then I'm going to take this piece, which is a 2x4, this corner, and a 4x4, and connect that here and here. That's our little stairs that goes around. I just dug out one more of these brown cylinders, which I'm going to place here at this corner so that we kind of have a continuity of posts. We're also going to want some stairs on this side. So this set of stairs will connect here. We have 2x6 and a 1x6 that goes on top of it. That is going to be the first 2 steps up, and then we just have 4x6s overlapping each other in a shallower step. I have 1 plate here at the corner to build up an extra level, and this is going to sit right here, kind of over this spot where 2 of those curves met. Now over here we're going to have a dock as well. This is the build for that one. Again, it's just some more plates. I'm using the rounded corners here and some on the bottom for support. I'm using the 2x2 cylinders again, and around here I put the 1x1s as posts. This one is on top of the others because this is going to be the first step of the stairs. We're going to place on top of that a 1x8, and then we're just going to continue that up for the rest of the staircase until we come level with the top of this. And in order to connect those, I'm going to be using 3 2x4s. A 4x6 would have worked also. I'm centering it here so it's not on either of the corners, because the corners I'm going to place this wing piece and this quarter round piece like that. Now let's fill in some details, starting with some palm trees. This is an official Lego palm tree trunk. It's made of these little segmented pieces that snap together and bend in interesting ways. I only have 1 of these, but I like it a lot, so I am going to be using it. In order to build the top, we are going to take one of these interesting sconce claw pieces. This one's in green because it is also from a palm tree, but it's going to be hidden in the middle, so if you only have black, you can probably make that work. These are the leaves I'm going to be using for this particular tree. I'm going to put 2 on the clips here on the lower edges, and then I'm going to put 2 on the tops a little higher up. And then to hide where these ones kind of stick up a little bit, I'm going to take these leaves and I'm going to put just an upside down one here and here. That's going to give us some color variety and also kind of even out the curve there. Next, I'm going to take this dead bush and I'm going to use it as the palm frond kind of on the bottom of this tree. I'm going to take a Technic pin with a stud. I'm going to put it on the base of the little sconce piece, and I'm going to use that to attach it to the dead bush. Then I'm going to take a pin and I'm going to put that into the hole, and I'm going to move these bush pieces out of the way a little bit so that I can attach my palm tree trunk just like that. And that is tree number 1. Tree number 2 is going to be a little different. We're going to be using this piece that also has these L-shaped bars. I don't even know what to call this one, but it's what we're using. We are going to take a tank top that is brown and matches and put it here. And then we're going to take 4 leaves and we're going to clip them around like this. We're actually going to rotate them because they kind of interfere with each other here, but we're going to bring them in a little bit, which is going to make the tree appear fuller and make them sit better next to each other like this. So we're going to kind of spin them all inward, and then I'm going to take one and place it on top, connecting it with the stud, and another one going the other direction. Then I'm going to take, for the trunk, 2 of these 6 tall brown cylinder pieces. I'm just going to attach them like that. And I'm going to take this dead looking leaf and I'm going to attach it on the bottom of the L piece so it looks like a dead frond hanging down. And that is going to be tree number 2. For tree number 3, I'm going to be using one of these bendy, long, flexible Lego bar pieces. It's in brown, and I've basically just slotted a whole bunch of these cylinders up it, but none of them are connected. There's a gap in between all of them so that the tree can bend. On the bottom side of that, I'm going to take one of these Technic pieces, which is just going to kind of dangle loose here. It wasn't really necessary, but I found it, so I figured I would include it in the tree. And I'm going to take one more cylinder, slot on the end to hold that in place, and I'm going to take the same trunk piece I used last time. I'm going to attach it to the bottom. Now, the idea is that the bar will stick into this stud, and then this cylinder will seat into the stud, so it should hold that nicely together here, and the rest of the tree has the ability to flex and bend, but it's locked securely to the base. I'm going to take one of these leaves and I'm going to flip it upside down, and then I'm going to connect the back stud of one to the front stud of the other, and take a third one and layer it the same way. So I'm going to make this shape basically, and I'm going to make 3 of those. I have 10 of these leaves, so that's going to leave me with 1 odd one out. I'm going to take 3 of these little sprout pieces, and I'm just going to push them up from the bottom through all of these studs to kind of lock them in place, because they seem to want to keep falling off, and I would rather them be locked down. Now I'm going to take these leaves and start slotting them onto the top of this tree. There's 3 sets, so they're going to end up being roughly separated into thirds. I'll splay the leaves a little wider if I need to, and I'm going to take this last leaf and I'm going to overlap it going in the opposite direction of the top leaf to fill in the gap. Now we're going to go ahead and attach these trees and a few more accessories. I'm going to take our first palm tree and put it over here in this corner next to this rock where I can angle it kind of down and away from the lighthouse. This tree I'm going to put right on the corner, and then the super tall tree I'm going to put below the rocks right in this corner here and leaning out over the dock that direction. I have a few more accessories I want to place around here, starting with I've got this 2-high stack of barrels that I put a tap on the top of. I'm just going to tuck that in this corner, and I'm going to put a single barrel next to it like that. I have this little crate that opens. I'm going to stick that right under the corner of this scaffolding, and I'm going to take a chest and stick it right here. It's not going to be connected, it's just going to be sitting loose. I have another cannon. This one I've attached an axle and some wagon wheels to make a mobile cannon, and I'm just going to park it right here in this corner by the palm trees and put a couple extra cannonballs next to it. I think it would be fun if during the fight the party wants to actually, use these cannons. You can look up the stats for how much damage a ship's cannon does, and they can use these cannons to fire on the Carnivorous ship. Or I got one more barrel that I'm just going to stick up in this corner here, and then I'm going to build a little tiny sailboat. So I'm going to use one of these molded boat bases, and I'm going to build a sail. So to start with, I'm going to take a jumper tile, put it on the bottom of one of these tall brown cylinders, and that will be my mast. I'm just going to put it in the boat where approximately I think the mast should go. I'll attach a mooring line to the front, and I'm going to use this pirate rifle in this little clip on the back. I'm going to line it up with the bottom, and that will be my rudder. For the sail, I'm going to put a brown clip on top of the mast, and then I'm going to take a 1x8 brown and a 1x8 white plate and clip them together with the white on top. Then I have a bunch of these sloped pieces. This one is the full slope, and these 2 are half slopes. I'm going to use some plates to fill in their little gaps, and then I'm going to place the full slope in the middle and the 2 half slopes on the side so it looks like a tied up sail. Then I will take this stud with a bar, place it upside down in the center like that, and clip it to the clip, and there is our little sail. I'll bring this boat around over here, and I'll put its mooring line on one of the dock posts. Now I'm going to add a little fresh fish stand underneath the overhang of this facade here. This is a little stand that actually I didn't design. This was a poly bag. I think it was a Monkey Kid poly bag, and it was a little snack stand. I have just replaced the vegetable shoots and little boxes of food with fish and a crab, and that's going to be our little fish stand. I'm leaving these were part of it, but I feel like these could be oysters or something. I don't know. We're gonna leave those there, and I'm just going to slide this stand right between these two arch pieces and press it down just a little bit. And then I'm going to take a crate, a few fish, and a few clear 1x1 studs, and put that next to it so it looks like we have a box of fish on ice. That's gonna sit right here. And I found one more small crate, so I'm gonna stick one fish and one clear cheese slope to be an ice cube in there next to this one. Now for our cargo crane, I'm going to take a 1x8 in brown and a 1x6, and I'm going to center the 1x6. I'm going to take two gray vertical clips like that, which will be the run for the line. This is going to be our boom arm. I'm then going to take a brown brick with Technic that is 1x4 and attach it like that with two studs of overlap. I'll bridge that gap with a cheese slope, and then I'm going to put an inverted slope on this side and lock that in place with a 1x2. I'm going to put a pin in the last hole on this side, and then I'm going to take two 1x2s with a pin, and I'm going to attach them to one of these cylinders, stack another one on the bottom, and stack a little pivot joint on the bottom of that. I'll cap that off with this slope piece, fill in the gap with a plate. I will put this pin in this hole, and on this side I will put another ship's wheel, and that will be our little cargo crane. And what will that cargo be? How about a freshly caught shark? Why, you might ask? I don't know, all of the builds that I saw when I was looking for inspiration for this map had sharks that were like caught on a cargo crane or in a net or hanging, and I wanted to embody that. Obviously, you shouldn't be poaching sharks in real life. Sharks are endangered, and that's not a nice thing to do. But this is a Lego shark, and he's gonna be caught up in a net on this cargo crane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this long Lego rope that has the studs on each end. I'm going to take a winch hook and attach it to one, and then I'm just going to kind of wrap this net around the shark, and then I'm going to take the stud here, run it through each of these three corners of the net. I'm not going to go for the bottom corner, but I'm going to run it through all of those corners, and then I'm going to open his mouth slightly, hook the hook in the corner, and have him bite down on that. I'm going to wrap the rope around his tail and actually tie it in a little half knot right there so that the shark doesn't go anywhere. And now he is tied up in a net. I'm going to drape this rope over these two clips and attach it to the one remaining stud here at the back of the crane. And then this whole crane is going to go right in the corner of this building here. If you're not feeling the shark, you can always just put a net full of boxes or hook a treasure chest to the crane, or you could even do something like this. Since it's a fantasy setting, these giant lobsters are shoreline scrappers, which is another monster from Kobold Press, either the Creature Codex or the Tome of Beasts. I'm actually not sure which one off the top of my head. I built these guys for a map a while back in my campaign, and basically they're giant lobsters with magnetic shells that walk along the beach and they collect metal that gets stuck to their shells. I think we will be building these in an upcoming episode, so you could always swap out one of these for the shark, and then you'd have a net full of possibly loot for your party, maybe some random weapons, maybe a rare sword that was lost to the sea. Who knows? Now, I did promise to tell you why this little shelf at the back here was important, and I haven't yet, so I'm going to remedy that. The reason I wanted this little shelf that sticks out the back of the model is actually for this. This is an ultrasonic mister that I got on Amazon designed to fit in a water bottle. I put some O-rings on the top so this makes a nice tight seal, and I have plugged it into a portable battery pack that I've had forever. When I turn this on, it mists out the top silently, and it's basically a little portable fog machine that I used in a previous map when I built a White Dragon's Lair, and it gives a really cool fog effect. When I put this little shelf here, my idea is I will lean this on the little shelf, and I will aim that stream of mist right through the bottom window. So this whole map gets blanketed with sea fog, and that is going to look pretty cool when it's all done. Now, the last thing that our town needs is some people in it. I don't know if you've noticed, but this is an entirely vacant port town. So I'm going to grab a whole slew of minis here, show them to you, show you what I've come up with, and just populate them into the town. This is going to be NPCs that your party is going to have to watch out for during the fight and protect from the giant mimic. To start with, we've got this old guy with a fishing rod, and he's caught an orange fish. I'm going to put him on this pier over here. This guy is a town guard, and so is this guy, so I'm going to put them just kind of flanking the doors of this little blue building, which is, I guess, kind of like our fort because it's got a cannon on it. This dragonborn is going to be our fishmonger, so he's got a fish in his hand and a knife for flaying them. I'm going to put him out by his fish stall. This is just a CMF figure. He's a newsie, but nothing about him says that he can't be in a fantasy town. He's got a little slingshot, he's got a little bag, so I'm just going to put him over here trying to haggle with the dragonborn for some fish. Here we have an orc in a little paper jacket and a little sailor's hat with an oar. I'm going to put him over here by this little sailboat. Maybe that is his little sailboat. This gentleman here I think is going to be our crane operator, so I'll stick him up here. This guy is kind of shady looking. I don't know if he's up to no good or what, but we're just going to put him walking down the street. This is an Aarakocra I've made with Chima pieces, and given her this pirate map, I'm going to put her under the awning talking to this lady pirate, and that is a now fully populated town that is ready to be attacked by a mimic. Now, if I'm going to fit a whole ship into this encounter scene, I need to put more plates on the front. This whole thing is 2.5 plates wide, so I'm just going to layer a whole bunch more in front, but my desk here is actually not big enough for the whole setup to do it glory. So I am going to take this whole thing upstairs, set it up on my D&D table with the DM screen, just like I was using it for a session, start up the mist machine, and get our glory shots. So that concludes our map build for today. Before I take it upstairs and get some awesome ending footage of the map in all of its glory, I just want to say thank you for watching this special two-parter in celebration of Kraken Week, and be sure to let me know down in the comments what creature you want to see me build next.